upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Chariton, live on Monday, Memorial Day. Hope everyone's having an okay day, and if you are still working, gets a little time off from work. I wanted to come live today to debut my new computer, which should come with no buffering and quality streaming. Wanted to go live yesterday, but had some tech problems. But I think those tech problems are worked out. So excited to be live today. Got a lot to discuss. I guess we don't say Happy Memorial Day, but
That's what Trump said.
it's Memorial Day, so whatever. You know, have a cup of whiskey or a doobie for our fallen and beloved. I'll be having a Corona later, not virus. Beverage. So, a lot to discuss, but before we do that, a couple housekeeping notes. It's Memorial Day. A lot of people might not see this live stream, so you could help with that by smashing the like button. More people that press that like button, the thumbs up right under the video, the more people that will see the live stream. Got 170 people watching already, but 96 of you have pressed the like button. Just press that like button. Whether you like me or not, fake it. Press that like button. Also, if you're on our text list, you should have just got a text message that we were live. Helps us notify people because YouTube can't be relied upon to do such. So please join our text list by texting COUP to 370-370. Again, COUP to 370-370. That'll make sure you get a text message when we're live. Also, we are live right now on @StatusQ on the Twitter. Follow us there. And also we're live on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/StatusQ. So definitely follow us at Twitch, on Twitter. We're trying to broaden our horizons outside of YouTube. I couldn't go live yesterday, which sucked. But we are still pushing our GoFundMe. We are now less than, what is that? Less than $7,000 to go till we hit $110,000. So super exciting. That's our goal, 110,000. And right now, we are less than, why do I have to do math? 600 and $55 away. I think that's right. $655 away from hitting $104,000 raised. So hopefully, if you got a couple bucks, you could contribute today. All of this is so we can continue our in-the-field reporting that you know us and love us for. You know where we've been, all over this great country. And as soon as it's safe to get back out there, we're going to be back out in the field, but we're trying to raise more money because, unfortunately, we have lost quite a lot of members during coronavirus. We're down to 1,778 members. We just posted, actually, 2 new members videos. So if you're a member, check it out, statusq.com. Click on members content. So, and it's a super chat for all those in the super chat. Betavirus, $2. Voice and video not in sync? Really? You're the only person I've heard that from. Is anybody else having voice and video issues? Let me know. Can't find like on my phone? Oh, it's because you're in the chat. If you're on your phone, you got to get out of the super chat get out of the live stream real quick, press the X, and then press the thumbs up and get back into the live stream. So keep it coming in the super chat. Sorry, Betavirus. I think it's working for everybody else, so it might be on your end. And let me know in the super chat if the quality of the stream is better. If the quality of the stream is better, because I'm on a new laptop that we paid a pretty dollar for. So I'm hoping there's no buffering or anything like that. And please, smash that like button. So, obviously we criticize Biden and the Democratic Party quite often here. I got a lot to say on that front today. But I think the normalization of Trump, because Trump has set the bar so low, that when he does just absolutely insane things, most of us just kind of, oh, it's a distraction. Let's not focus on it. Oh, it's Trump. Who cares? And he is kind of, through sheer force of insanity, made just insane behavior, disgusting behavior for any type of leader, much less the president, kind of become normalized to the point where people are numb to it and people don't care. And there's more insane behavior that Trump has been exhibiting in the past few days that, honestly, you have to wonder how the Democratic nominee, who, by the way, as Brianna Joy Gray noted, go check out the interview with her I just did, posted in 2 different parts. As Brianna Joy Gray notes, he's not officially the Democratic nominee. We should all consider that. He's not the Democratic nominee officially. The Democratic nominee, or the head of the Democratic, presumptive nominee, Tanya H. 10 euros in the super chat. Quality is great. Thank you, Tanya H. By the way, the only reason I was able to purchase this new computer was thanks to the GoFundMe. And by the way, we can't do it today because, of course, the day we wanted to debut this, Jen has a power outage in her neighborhood. Not power, but internet outage. She's actually doing the super chat on her phone. We wanted to Skype in Jen live. I tested it with Colin yesterday and it worked. So once Jen has internet back, hopefully tomorrow we'll be Skyping her in. So you guys made it happen. Keep it coming in the GoFundMe. We have a lot more stuff we have to purchase, including a lot more advertising we need to do. If you haven't noticed, finally, in the last few days, let me get it, we have gone up 300 subscribers on YouTube, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot for us lately. Part of that is because of Brianna's interview. Part of that is because we placed a couple ads on Reddit. So we're trying advertising in unconventional ways to get Status Quo out there to more people. But frankly, we need more funding for that advertising. We're trying advertising on Reddit as well as some third-party platforms. So definitely, if you want more people to know about Status Quo, help us do it. It makes a big difference. Obviously, if you can't, we get it. Times are tough. Economic times are tough. But if you can, even $5 makes a big difference. So Trump, you would think that when the President of the United States is retweeting, I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton. I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi. Not really a fan of Stacey Abrams. But I am a fan of basic respect and dignity. Trump, in the last 2 days, has retweeted people calling Hillary Clinton a skank. Some of you might find that funny. I don't, not to be a Debbie Downer. Jordan, stop being a tie-dice. I mean, she might be a warmonger. She might be, a corporatist. But, I don't think we need to be calling women skanks, whether you're conservative or any other party. He also kind of fat-shamed Stacey Abrams. She fought a tough race, kissed a lot of babies, and visited every buffet restaurant in the state. It's just, this is the president retweeting this stuff. He also retweeted about Pelosi. Anyone know what's going on with Polygrip, I've noticed lately that her face seems glossy and she is sporting a poorly marked second set of eyebrows. I mean, you might be wondering, Jordan, why are you even giving this oxygen? I'm giving it oxygen because Trump's disgusting behavior, and by the way, I mean, in addition to the insults, he's trying to basically do away with all mail-in ballots, which is, frankly, I don't know why the RNC is suing to stop it in California. California is not exactly competitive. Donald Trump's not going to win California. But clearly they know if mail-in ballots happen, if California, which is bigger than many countries, is able to have exclusively mail-in ballots, I mean, Trump might win the Electoral College, but he could very well lose the popular vote by 5-6 million votes if we extend everything to mail-in ballots. So with all of this, you would think that the whatever you want to call Biden, the presumptive nominee, is just crushing Trump. Tumblebug, $5. Glad to be a member of Status Quo. Keep well and keep on doing what you're doing, guys. Here's $5 to help offset lost members. Thank you, Tumblebug. We appreciate that. Very kind, very kind. But what's amazing to me, Andrea, $25 in the GoFundMe. Thank you, Andrea. We are now, what is that? Oh, I'm so bad at math. Do I have to bring up you know what that is? Hold on.
No, I feel math too, George.
Let me get it. We are now 104,000 minus 103,380. We are now $620 away. $620 away from $104,000 raised. Keep it coming. So you would think that Biden would be just destroying this man. We have 39 million people uninsured, who have filed for jobless claims. Rough estimate, 27 million have lost their employer-sponsored health insurance. Pete Buttigieg. Oh, don't rip my private health care. Bernie Sanders wants to rip private health care from my hands. Speaking of Bernie Sanders, I spoke with David Sirota today. I've spoken with about 10 to 12 other staffers on Bernie's campaign. I'm working on a story about the real story behind Bernie Sanders' campaign's downfall. Not what you've seen out there at Politico, The Hill, Huffington Post. I have the real story. Get your popcorn. So, it's going to come out this week, hopefully, with my interviews with former Bernie staffers. So, you would think Joe Biden is just destroying Donald Trump. This is concerning. Only 3% of Bernie Sanders supporters have donated to Joe Biden's campaign. Oh boy. Why this matters, let me read you some of it. Only 60,000 donors of the approximately 2.2 million that gave money to Bernie Sanders have also made donations to Joe Biden, according to the Wall Street Journal. As such, less than 3% of Sanders supporters have given to Biden thus far. 6 months away from the election, the low percentage suggests that Biden has not made the political inroads to Vermont senators' base, despite his overtures to appear receptive to their political needs. But the Journal estimates that Biden could potentially gain at least 41 million if each of these untapped donors gave just $19 each to his campaign, the average donation to Sanders' campaign. And what is Biden doing to get those voters? Let's take a look. Most of the attention came from Biden's "you ain't black" mouthful the other day. But on the same day, he actually did an interview with CNBC, which was not as racist, but just as devastating. Let's take a listen.
That they are able to get the kind of medical help they need as it relates to this pandemic. Their neck. People making hourly wages who are carrying the rest of us on their back in terms of this virus, that they are able to get the kind of medical help they need as it relates to this pandemic.
Mr. Vice President, it's Joe Kernan. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it this morning.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
I'm great. Some Democratic pundits say that Sanders and Warren voters are essential for you to win. I know you've probably seen that, but some aren't quite there yet. Others point out, though, that your candidacy surged when it became apparent to mainstream Democrats that Sanders might be the nominee, and then they flocked to you, a more moderate, perhaps, candidate. Are you prepared now to say you're going to govern as a progressive and enact programs in the mold of Sanders and Warren? And if so, what does that say to either moderate Democrats or independents or even some Republicans dissatisfied with President Trump?
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Look at my record. The fact is that some areas that I think, for example, I think health care is a right, not a privilege. I do not support Medicare for all. I will not support Medicare for all, but I do support making sure that Obamacare is around with a public option for those who can't afford, those who qualify for Medicaid and they don't get in their state, they would be able to buy, they would be able to be automatically be enrolled in the public option of Medicare. That would, but I do not support a, forgiving debt loan for every single solitary person, no matter where you went to school. But I do support the idea, if in fact you have a student debt as a consequence of going to a public university and your income is under $125,000, it should be forgiven. I do believe that anyone going to school that in fact goes to a public university and or a community college, they should be able to go for free if income is under $125,000. My wife has a great expression. Any country that out-educates us is going to outcompete us. We have a whole generation that's being put behind the eight ball, Joe. You know that. They're in real trouble. Well, real trouble right now.
Well, that's going to get Bernie supporters to donate to you. Let me tell you. That's going to do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how high unemployment goes. It doesn't matter how many people lose their health insurance. I do not support Medicare for all, and I will not support Medicare for all. By the way, thank you for the donation, Seth Peterson, $30. Woo-hoo! We are now, what is that? Oh boy, $595. $595 away from hitting $104,000 raise. Keep it coming, folks, if you can. If you can't, no problem. But we really appreciate all the help in Super Chat and GoFundMe. By the way, we got 400 viewers watching on Memorial Day. Only 217 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get another 175 of you to kindly press the thumbs up button? It's right under the live video. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this live stream on Memorial Day. So what's amazing to me is, let's say for argument's sake, and by the way, I don't know if anyone noticed that he said, I'm gonna beat Joe Biden. I think he meant I'm gonna be Joe Biden, not Bernie or Warren, but he said I'm gonna beat Joe Biden. We'll let it slide on that with his cognitive, minutia. But most politicians will at least give lip service if they want to win, when it's just obvious that you have a political winner in your grips. It was obvious that he had a political winner during the primary. All the polls show Medicare for all has majority support in all the states where Joe Biden has won, even states Bernie won. All the voters, majority of voters, supported Medicare for all. Thank you, Carl Knight, $10 in the super chat. Much love to the coup. Much love to you, Carl. But you got 27 million people that have lost their employer health care that Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg gaslit us into thinking was so sacred. And don't you dare take the choice away from me. When in reality, the choice, nobody has a choice, because if you lose your job, like people are losing right now, you're screwed. And I agree with Andrew Yang and others who say 30%, 40% of employers are not even going to bring back their employees that they've laid off. Even if the economy gets better, they're going to do more with less, as we saw after the 2008 financial crash. So if you had 27.5 million that the Kaiser Foundation study found have lost their employer health care, with the 29 million that were already uninsured, that's over 50 million people without health insurance. And what is Joe Biden saying? I do not and I will not support Medicare for all. Well, what is the actual legitimate the actual legitimate reason for that. Medicaid's not going to cover all those people. I've spoken with people who are trying to get Medicaid. They can't get it right now in New York because it's being overrun. The requests for Medicaid are overrun. The Medicaid office is overrun, just like the unemployment offices are overrun. State unemployment, state Medicaid offices are not equipped to handle a just a bull ride of uninsured or unemployed people all at once. You can't rely on just people getting on Medicaid. Secondly, when he talks about Obamacare, Obamacare was and is a giant sexual favor to the insurance companies.
Oh my God.
So even if you are at zero right now, not making any money, and you could get a cheap Obamacare plan, which in New York, the cheapest plan I could find for what I make, and I don't make a lot. We are a startup media company. Jen and I are not taking monstrous salaries because not making that kind of money. But what's incredible, even if you could get an Obamacare plan for $100 a month, that's not taking away the deductibles. That's not taking away co-pays. That's not taking away co-insurance. Well, if you don't have a job right now and your prospects for getting a job aren't so hot, how are you going to pay for your deductible? How are you going to pay for your co-pays? How are you going to pay for your co-insurance? I've had 2 back surgeries in the last 3 years. Between the 2 of them, with insurance, I owed anywhere but over $3,000 I've owed on these back surgeries. So how are people without a job to pay for rent, which Joe Biden is not talking about getting canceled? I haven't heard him say a word that we need to cancel rent. Not talking about student loan freezes, utility freezes, car payment freezes, mortgage cancellation. So what are you going to do? You're going to choose between paying your rent, groceries, medications for the kids, car payment, or your Obamacare deductible? How does that work? Thank you for the super chat. Case Study QB, $2. Much love and keep up the good work. Appreciate it. Thank you for the GoFundMe donation. Anonymous, $20. Woohoo! We are now $570 away from $104,000 raised. But there was other, and there's another story, by the way. Joe Biden finding Bernie's donors elusive. The real problem for Joe Biden is not that he's not getting Bernie Sanders supporters to donate. The real problem is what that shows is he's not going to get Bernie Sanders voters. Joe Biden, if he doesn't get minimum 80% of Bernie Sanders supporters, he's toast. I don't care how many suburban wine moms you get to come out, which seems to be the Democratic Party strategy. To hell with the working class, to hell with labor unions, to hell with Latinos. We just need to get those suburban wine moms out, the real heads of the resistance. Well, if you're not going to get Bernie voters under 30, frankly, I would say even 35, if they're not donating to you, that means they don't have any enthusiasm for you. If you're not going to get 85 to 90% of Latinos, doesn't look like he's going to get that. Trump got more Latinos than Romney did in 2016. Shockingly, because he's a bigot and he hasn't done a damn thing for Latinos. If Biden's not going to do well among Latinos or do as well as he needs to, if he's not going to do well among Bernie voters, and after these "you ain't black" comments and Trump doing, frankly, what Bernie refused to do, I'm not going to play the ads, but I think you could figure out. Trump's campaign has gone to town on Biden after the "you ain't black" comments, splicing those comments in with his push for the crime bill and other racist policies Biden pushed. It's going to suppress the under 40 black vote. It's going to suppress the under 40 black vote. And with this known, and by the way, I'm not even sure if you pick Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, or another African-American woman, if that would really do the trick. I'm not trying to be a white guy, predicting for black people, but I don't really see the under 40 black crowd revved up for Kamala Harris, revved up for Stacey Abrams. Nina Turner, yes. But, they couldn't even get Nina Turner on the damn task force. So I don't think she's going to be in the White House or next to Joe Biden. By the way, almost 500 viewers, 328 likes. Don't forget to smash that like button. Let's get it past 500. So I want to play another part from Joe Biden's interview because with the "you ain't black" brouhaha, literally, this could just be John Kerry, Mitt Romney. It could be a Republican politician saying these things, frankly. Listen to Biden on how he's going to revive the economy for the working class of America.
The question is how quickly you do that in the midst of in the midst of this pandemic and in the midst of trying to get the economy to recover.
Nobody making under $400,000 would have their taxes raised, period. Bingo. Let's get people back to work. Let's get them to work. Now, look, here's the deal.
What about corporations?
Tell me how many people are investing that tax break they had in new jobs. Give me your numbers, man. Come on. Let's get real. Well, people are hurting.
Well, I absolutely understand that. I'm trying to just understand. I'm trying to understand as you're trying to balance these issues, especially when it comes to corporate taxes, how quickly you move on that, given that we want to get jobs and get people back to work.
Okay, let me ask you the rhetorical question. What jobs have they created if we give them more of a tax cut? The president's talking about a greater tax cut for corporations. You tell me what you think, how many jobs that will create in the next 6 months. You're the expert, you guys. I'm not being a wise guy. I'm not trying to be like Trump. I'm not criticizing you. But really, think about it. Look, people need to get back to work. And the idea they're already talking about, the president's phrase, what is it? We have time to wait. They're not even going out and making sure that the states have the money to keep their firefighters on the job, to keep the cops on the job, teachers on the job, all of those things that do create income and do generate growth. What are we doing?
Bingo! Bingo! Come on, man! Bingo! Thank you for the super chat. Lahil Single Lefty. Why isn't Bernie running third party? Ugh, I wish I can get into Bernie's head. He should be doing a lot of things. I don't know. Eugene Debs, a very underrated progressive hero. $10. Keep speaking truth to power, team status quo. Why, thank you, we will. Tiffany J. Kim, $19.99 in the super chat. Medicaid killed my father at 62 of a heart attack 2 years ago this past Saturday. I'm sorry to hear that. Very sorry to hear that. I'm donating in his memory because you tell it like it is, no sugarcoating, just like he always did. Thank you for your tireless work. Well, that's very kind. I'm sorry you lost your father very young. That's my dad's 63, so that really speaks out to me. Thank you for the super chat, and hope you're doing well. Let me see. Thank you for the $10, Shakira. Thomas, $10 in the GoFundMe. We are now $560 away. $560 away from 104,000. So first of all, Obama set the whole tax thing, the tax rate. We're not going to raise taxes under $250,000. It's not a small thing that Biden suddenly thinks the middle class marker is under $400,000. Yeah, I don't know many places where $400,000 a year is considered middle class, not even in New York City. $400,000, if you made it the right way, if you didn't cheat, steal, or ravage people to get that $400,000, God bless, but you're not middle class. And Joe Biden, the reason he increased from Obama's level of $250,000 to $400,000 is he is an even more brazen servant of Wall Street than Obama was. And that is hard because Obama at that point in 2008 got more money than any other candidate in history from Wall Street. So the fact that Joe Biden considers like $400,000 the cliff for a working or middle class shows you who exactly he's servicing. Secondly, Joe Biden has the same exact strategy and frankly the same exact problem, but worse, as Hillary Clinton does. Thank you, Jason Milton, $10. What do you think about Biden moving to the center with Amy Klobuchar while Trump is trying to move to the left? Biden should pick a more progressive candidate if he wants to win, and the DNC is so naive. What do I think about Biden moving to the center? What do you mean moving to the center? He's been in the center. I've been saying for weeks he's going to pick Amy Klobuchar. The only reason now I think he might not is because I think poll numbers might show him weakened after this "you ain't black" fiasco, and his campaign might feel forced now to pick a female black running mate to basically, galvanize the black voting base and in their mind get the millennial black voters. But again, I don't even know if he picks Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris or any of the other black women candidates, if that would do the trick for millennial black voters. But what do I think? Well, Biden is choosing somebody in his image with different body parts if he picks Amy Klobuchar. She's just as right-wing as he is. She's just as down with the corruption, down with the incrementalism as he is. And he wants somebody who's loyal to him that won't speak out of turn. And that's Amy Klobuchar, frankly. She fills every box. So thank you for the super chat. But the second thing is, can you honestly put aside your disdain for Hillary Clinton and her type of politics? Can you really figure out or remember what was her economic message in 2016? What was Hillary Clinton's economic message? Bernie Sanders, we know. $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, massive government jobs programs, infrastructure, taxing the rich. It's instinctual with Bernie. You know what his economic plans were. But with Hillary Clinton, you didn't know. Stronger together, expanding on Obama's legacy. Joe Biden has no economic plan. None. And he is basically doing what the Democratic Party has done for the last 40 years and make the whole economic discussion about taxes. Tax increases on the wealthy versus tax cuts for the middle class. But we all know taxes are just one quarter of the story. Tax cuts for the middle class does not create jobs. Tax cuts for the middle class or tax increases on the wealthy do not reverse the fact that as productivity has skyrocketed in this country, wages have been flat. The great American bank robbery. As Trump, McConnell, and their Republican predecessors have robbed the Treasury, have robbed you with your productivity, with Democrats like Nancy Pelosi driving the getaway car. Come on. This is the reality of the United Corporations of America. The Republicans can't rob the Treasury without the Democrats as the getaway car. Just like George W. Bush could have never went to war with Iraq without warmongers of the Democratic Party going along to get along. So Joe Biden is basically talking as if taxes are everything. I'm all for taxing the rich, but that's not going to get people back to work. Just like giving tax cuts to my mom and dad, who are small business owners, isn't going to save their business right now. It doesn't matter if you give people tax cuts, small business owners, if they don't have enough customers. You have to not just give tax cuts to workers. You have to create the conditions for jobs. But how do you, as Joe Biden says, we've got to get people back to work? How are you going to do that if you, Joe Biden, and your cohorts in the Democratic Party with the Republican Party have both sold the jobs to China, Mexico, and other countries, have decimated the industrialized Midwest, have already started to allow companies automizing? I don't agree with Andrew Yang on a lot, but he is right about the jobless economy that's coming. In part, it's already here. We haven't had a real government jobs program since FDR. That's how you create jobs. The government can help create jobs. But the government has helped create more jobs for China, Mexico, and other countries. And I don't blame the Chinese workers who are desperate to make a living, even though they're getting exploited with those starvation wages. I don't blame the Mexican workers either for the same thing. I blame Joe Biden. He pushed NAFTA. To this day, Bernie, frankly, I don't know why he didn't hammer him more on TPP, because if Joe Biden becomes president, I don't care what the hell he says during the campaign. Last year, he was advocating for the TPP. Last year, he was advocating for the TPP. If the TPP passed, it would be the final nail in labor's coffin. The Trans-Pacific Partnership. So when he says, come on, get people back to work, there is no there. There's no actual specifics. How are you going to get people back to work? Are you going to force these companies to hire people back? Are you going to penalize companies that have gotten bailout money but not hired back all of their workers? Are you going to, not like Trump, because Trump's tariffs have been completely irrational, not strategic, but are you going to penalize corporations that offshore jobs? No, because they are giving you all your money. They're the ones funding your campaign. They're the ones that would fund your reelection if you become president. They're the ones funding your Democratic Congress. So everything he's saying is Trump is the Antichrist, just like Hillary Clinton said Trump is the Antichrist. But they have no actual plan to bring back jobs. You can't bring back jobs if you don't radically, and I mean radically, rewrite these trade deals where they're not written by banks and multinational corporations. You cannot bring back jobs if you don't create with government money jobs programs. You know how you help black communities? You invest massive amounts of dollars in jobs programs in Baltimore, Ferguson, Milwaukee, Detroit, Flint. That could be the start of our Green New Deal. It's not only black workers, a lot of poor white workers, a lot of poor Latino workers. But he's not going to do that. Just like he said in this interview, he's not for eliminating fracking. I mean, this is somebody, again, I started this live stream by admonishing Trump, retweeting Hillary Clinton's a skank and fat shaming Stacey Abrams and saying Nancy Pelosi has 3 eyebrows. To some, this might sound funny, but this is the President of the United States saying these things. Any Democratic presumptive nominee with a pulse should be crushing Donald Trump. Their problem should not be that Bernie Sanders supporters aren't donating. Their problem should be their server can't handle the amount of donations coming in against this dangerous clown. But because he will not budge at all. As of now, if the election were held today, I don't care what the national polls say. I'm not a polling truther, but the polls said a lot of things in 2016. I think Donald Trump would beat Joe Biden, and I don't even think it would be close, to tell you the truth. I want to show you this other part from his interview, again, on getting Bernie Sanders donors and voters to support him.
Out of the whole idea of whether or not we're going to stop fracking. I would not stop fracking. I'd gradually move away from fracking. I would just not do more fracking on federal lands. I would gradually move us out of the position of relying on oil and gas. And coal. Look, Joe, one of the things you've seen is that no one's going to build another coal-fired plant, period, no matter what the law is. Because now you can build a renewable energy or you can build a natural gas plant that works better and is cheaper and can have fewer problems. And a lot of the folks who listen to your program every morning, and I listen to it frequently, are already pricing in the price of carbon. So, look, the way we can create millions of jobs, Joe, is move to a rational policy on global warming, which I've laid out in detail.
So you want to your campaign is struggling with Bernie voters. Big portion of Bernie voters is young people. Older people care too, but young people primarily. And you use words like gradually in terms of climate change. You use terms rational plan in terms of climate change. This is like somebody seeing the Titanic in front of them, seeing the iceberg in front of them and thinking they have time to pop champagne. It's truly astounding. Wonderful graphic by Colin Tooley. I don't know he does live in his basement, so maybe he hasn't been around the country and the world that much lately. I don't know how much time these neoliberal corporatists like Joe Biden think we have to save mankind. I really don't. I don't know if they care, to be honest, because they will be long gone when the inferno comes. But we're not going to get rid of fracking. We are going to phase it out gradually, which, let me just translate that to you, means not under Joe Biden's presidency. Not in 4 years, not in 8 years if he ran 2 terms. Ain't going to happen. And keep those GoFundMe donations coming if you can. We are now $560 away. $560 away from 104,000. Would be so wonderful if we could hit that today. This is why Joe Biden is going to lose. Again, the national polls say what the national polls. I look at the states that matter. He is doing worse than Hillary Clinton was doing at this point. You're not going to get young people if you're saying you're for fracking. You're not going to get young people if you won't move an inch on health care. I don't care how many rallies Bernie Sanders goes around and does for you. I don't care how many times Bernie Sanders tells his supporters, you got to vote for Joe. Yeah, 75% of them might go ahead and vote for Joe Biden. If he picks Elizabeth Warren, maybe 80%. Even though I don't think that's a gesture to progressives. If Elizabeth Warren is anything, she ain't a progressive. She is a calculating, seasonal progressive at best. Seasonal, when the season is right for her. So Joe Biden basically is thinking the same way Hillary Clinton thought. And he has the same people around him giving the same poor advice as Hillary Clinton had. You don't have to be for anything. You just have to show a steady hand in the face of an animal, in the face of a zoo animal. And I got news for you. Donald Trump, that zoo animal, knows how to rev out his base to come out. And Joe Biden, he's not revving up young people to come out. He's not going to rev out young black people, I don't think. I don't think he's going to rev out young Latinos because his policies will not help them. And as we learned in 2016, even in the face of a unique danger, which I think Trump is, younger voters, and I would say even under 40, even many older voters that are more progressive, they're not going to come out and vote for someone that, even if that person is slightly better than Trump, not if they're not convinced that they're not going to get anything out of it and just get status quo. And frankly, them floating Amy Klobuchar as a trial balloon, they did that on purpose to see what the reaction would be, because that's who he wants to pick. There's a reason they put it out first, that she is being vetted. But there's a last part that I want to play from this interview that I think is very instructive. Very instructive. Here we go.
Wanted to ask you about the pharmaceutical industry, in large part because the Democratic Party, as you know, has long criticized that industry. And now humanity is so dependent on their innovations in this pandemic. And so the question I'd ask you, and we were talking about some of these efforts at vaccines, would you look to put price controls on a vaccine or a therapeutic if one's found?
No, I tell you what, if one is found, I would make sure that every single person in America is able to get a vaccine, period, without any cost. And I would do the same thing with testing right now. And I'd make, look, we need a health care policy. We need to be able to provide people the ability to stay healthy and get healthy. They're the things we need to do, because all the talk about opening up, people aren't going to open up until they have the confidence to know that they gather together, they're not going to get sick. You know, you saw that Columbia study. You saw other studies that if the president acted just 2 weeks earlier, there'd be 54,000 people, more people alive than there are today. We have to move. And what do we have to move on? We have to move on making sure that ordinary people who are breaking their neck, people making hourly wages, who are carrying the rest of us on their back in terms of this virus, that they are able to get the kind of medical help they need as it relates to this pandemic.
So, as it relates to this pandemic, we have to make sure that people in the working class and breaking their necks can get medical care. Thank you for the super chat. James Carvalho, $5 in the super chat. You're on point, Jordan. Good work. By the way, we got a interview coming up with a dollar store worker who got laid off for trying to organize. So that's coming up next. We've been interviewing as many workers as possible getting screwed during the coronavirus pandemic to show you the true face of the United Corporations of America. So stay tuned for that. And keep pressing that like button. We have almost 600 people watching. 457 of you have pressed the like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the live stream. So basically what Joe Biden is saying is, yeah, we'll cover the vaccine and testing for coronavirus, but you're on your own for cancer, heart disease, a stroke, seizures, kidney failure. Let's go down the list. We'll do it for coronavirus, but we don't have to get people healthy for anything else because my private healthcare and big pharma donors won't like that. And by the way, go to statuscoup.com. I just did a story on Joe Biden's healthcare donors. Oh my God. Guy's gotten $3 million from a hedge fund magnate named Jim Simons. And guess what? That hedge fund, one of its biggest portfolios, is the private healthcare industry. Go figure that Joe Biden won't budge an inch on Medicare for all. Go check out that story at statuscoup.com, where you can become a member, by the way, for as low as 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month to support real independent journalism. Not that fake independent journalism when they ask you to give you money, and then they do Trump 24/7. No. We back it up, and we report in the field. We're looking forward with the GoFundMe, and if we could increase membership, we would like to go to the left side of the United States, that portion near California. We would like to go to Navajo Nation and cover the disastrous impact that the coronavirus has had on Navajo Nation. And by the way, I mean, there's plenty to cover there other than the coronavirus. Poverty, lack of running water, lack of electricity, assaults, kidnapping of Native women. There's so much to cover. I've always wanted to go to Navajo Nation and cover more Native issues in the field. We'd also like to go down to Georgia and cover the ongoing conflict, and there are now marches going on due to the execution of Ahmaud Arbery, who was jogging. It's now you can't jog while black in America. So we'd like to go down there. So keep on donating if you can. We got less than $7,000 to meet our goal of $110,000. Each trip we take in the field can cost us anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Remember, flights, hotels, rent a car, food, you name it. And we might do more driving because of coronavirus than flying. So the bottom line is, Joe Biden is basically serving up a shit sandwich of platitudes, empty gestures, and Trump is the Antichrist. He is doubling and tripling down on Hillary Clinton's strategy. Who actually coined the term United Corporations of America Jordan definitely popularized the term, but the creator deserves a little credit. Boingy, I am here to tell you, I don't know if somebody said it before me, but I am the creator. I never saw it said by anybody else. I've been saying it for 5 years. So if you could find somebody else who started it, then I will credit them. But I never saw anyone else. And we are looking into getting it trademarked. So I don't think anyone else has started the United Corporations of America. And if we get it trademarked, stay tuned. We'll have shirts, mugs, bathing suits, towels, masks, shot glasses, you name it. We're going to have it. So, for the nearly 600 people watching, I want to show you a story. I interviewed a dollar store worker because I think what happened to this dollar store worker is very emblematic of the reason that Joe Biden is going to really struggle with the voters he needs to come out to beat Trump. As we've seen with Amazon, I've also interviewed workers at Total Wine who were fired for trying to organize during coronavirus. These corporations making crazy profit, but pulling away hazard pay without telling their workers, not providing the necessary PPE, trying to threaten their workers into coming into work when those workers don't feel safe coming into work, not providing paid sick leave. So I interviewed a guy named Daniel Stone. He was actually a worker in the corporate office of Dollar General, which you're seeing more Dollar Generals and dollar stores in general sprouting up all over the United Corporations of America because people can't afford the crazy prices in other places. He was working in the corporate office, not one of the worker bees, stocking the shelves or anything like that. And when he tried to organize and fight on behalf of his brothers and sisters on the front lines in the store, Dollar General didn't like that. Check out this interview with Daniel Stone and keep it coming in the Super Chat and GoFundMe. Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by Daniel Stone. I've been trying to get in contact with people that are basically being screwed during this pandemic. And you were working at Dollar General down there in Nashville. And like many others, your corporate bosses basically squashed you for trying to organize against their, reckless and greedy handling of coronavirus. So let's start from the beginning. When did you start working for them? And what was the first signs for you that they were mishandling their workers during this pandemic?
Yeah, thank you for having me on and giving me a chance to be able to talk about these things. So in October of 2016, I took a job at Dollar General Corporate in the market planning field. Basically, it was my job to build stores all across the country. And many of your audience will know Dollar Generals are popping up everywhere. And during this pandemic, it wasn't just kept to specific companies, but all across the board. Corporations who consistently viewed their workers as replaceable, just figures on a chart that they could manipulate into continuing going to work. And one of the largest things that set it off for me was in March, I sent an email to Kathy Reardon, the chief people officer at Dollar General, and asked, in response to the CEO's video of our plan for COVID-19 and everything else for our coworkers in stores, I asked about paid sick leave. One of the largest things was I noticed that a lot of people who were getting sick had no communication with respect to their ability to file for sick leave or be able to take care of themselves and their family. The lack of communication between corporate and people on the ground was more obvious than ever. So I sent her an email. She gave me a generic corporate response and actually made mention that she was grateful for employees like me at reaching out and being interested in protecting our workers. And from there, I continued my efforts and kept asking her about hazard pay as well as PPE, and she never answered me. So I after talking with my boss about the lack of response by the company, I went to human resources and directly asked, what are we doing? What are we doing for our coworkers who are in stores, and how can we protect and fight for them? I remember specifically I asked HR if I, as a corporate employee, could go in to a store and work alongside my coworkers. I live in Nashville. The corporate office is 10 minutes that way. Why can I not, as a corporate worker, go and show solidarity with my fellow coworkers on the weekend? I know I'm salary. I'm not charging the company any money, and they were totally averse to this. So they were fine with sending my coworkers to grocery stores day in and day out with little to no pay, pre-taxed bonuses, and when someone like me is offering their services for free to the company, they said no, because they wanted to hire 50,000 workers temporary, in which many of those workers were being hired to replace people who were sick and quitting, or people who just recognized that the company didn't give a shit about them. I don't know if I can curse, but I'm gonna. And so those 50,000 workers were just, again, replaceable people that the company did not value in any shape or form. So those were the first steps I took.
So to be clear, they planned on hiring workers to replace workers that were getting sick with COVID or not coming in because they were worried?
Yes, pretty much. Their efforts were, along with other companies who were trying to champion the PR side of, we're hiring people. We're doing this for you, for the consumer. We're going to hire 50,000 people and da-da-da-da-da. In reality, the people I took, or that I spoke to and who were organizing, they were quitting in droves because they were so fearful because the company didn't give a shit about them. They were not giving them protection. They were giving them minimal, degrading bonuses that were not even, that were pre-tax. So the company was doing this to soothe you as a consumer, not for the worker. What they do with these press releases that, they tell people they're heroes and they tell people they're on the front lines and we're watching out for you. It's not so that the person making $7.25 at Dollar General, who can't afford to feed their child, feels secure. It's so the person who's sitting at home watching Netflix at 2 p.m. making $70,000 a year feels, oh wow, that company really is watching out for people. It's to soothe the consumers and like, hey, we're doing things for them, when in reality they're doing nothing to fight for workers.
And what was, because we've seen some companies give hazard pay, what was the hazard pay that they were giving workers that did work throughout coronavirus?
Yeah, what I thought was the funniest part, in jest, the funniest part is, originally they gave for part-time workers a temporary $1 bonus that lasted from March to May the 1st. I guess on May 1st they pretended that the pandemic was over, when in reality, in March, and I've been open about this for myself, corporate workers got thousands of dollars in bonus money. So one of the biggest, dilemmas for me was to be able to weigh the fact that initially they told workers in store, on the ground, putting them and their families' lives on the line, that here is a temporary $1 bonus on top of your paycheck that is pre-taxed. It is not a gift of $1 on top of your earnings. And then on top of that, what I heard from my coworkers was, let's say, just for example, minimum wage is $7. They're getting 30 hours at $7. Well, now what they're getting is 10 hours at $8. So what they're doing is they're cutting the hours, increasing the wage, and so the company's actually ending up making more money. Again, it speaks to the fact that corporations do not share our morality. We have solidarity between workers. The morality I would apply to my friends and my family, corporations see that as exploitive, an opportunity to wedge themselves in between that morality. So, eventually Dollar General, what I loved, they did was, the second round of bonuses was, they did a $25 million bonus, quote unquote, for 150,000 workers almost. That averages about $150 per worker. Whereas 5 people on the executive team of Dollar General makes $24 million. So the difference of $1 million between about 150,000 workers is it's pretty large. It's a large difference.
So basically, five executives were making $24 million, and
exactly.
and 140,000 workers were making that bonus.
25. Yeah, they're having to split 25 million, and it averages about $175. And I've been working and talking with people like Chris Smalls, who I saw your interview with, and others. This is just demonic. It's degrading. It's barbaric. That companies and corporations expect workers like me and thousands of others to be grateful for the breadcrumbs that they're giving us. It's come to a point, I think, where many of us are just it's a fever pitch where many are just tired of asking for companies to be empathetic towards us. I think we deserve this money. It's becoming to a point where we demand that money, and we demand the respect that these corporations are pillaging off workers. Streams and programs like yours and others who allow workers to have that platform to share our demands, it's critical to the movement. It's a puzzle piece, and we're all in this together. And just one thing, your audience or others I would want to take away is what I've mentioned on other programs, where you may give your family the patience, you may afford your family kindness, you may afford your family understanding. Corporations do not share that. They exploit that. So when the PR pieces go out about heroes and frontline workers and everywhere else, you cannot see that and think that that's how I would treat workers. They must be doing the same. They are not. They are exploiting you. Do not be confused by their veils of genuineness. They do not exist.
And I'm curious, because I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't met a lot of corporate workers, workers in corporate that give a shit about the workers in the actual on the ground in the stores. So what about your background, or what about you made you want to really join those workers in the stores rather than just enjoying your corporate bubble and out of sight, out of mind? What made it different for you?
Yeah, I think so. One person that I've been working with is if you're in Nashville, listen to this, Vonda McDaniel of the CLC. She asked that same question. It was like, you're pretty set up during this time, frankly, of people like Dollar General or companies like Dollar General, they boom, man. They genuinely do. I appreciate a lot of the stories, and not to digress, but I appreciate a lot of stories about Amazon and Walmart and everybody. But somehow this company has navigated its way to pretend that they're still a mom and pop shop in rural Kentucky. And it's just not the truth. They do about 1,000 stores a year. They put mom and pop groceries out of work and out of business every week. But for me, I think I come from a background, I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Shout out to Western Kentucky, the Hilltops. My father is a counselor for underprivileged youth. My mother was a small business owner, and she understood, the benefits of having respect from your coworkers and treating your coworkers and your customers with respect. And I think that really set in motion my empathetic ways. I've always had these feelings, and in the beginning, I do think in corporate America there is a level of brainwashing, quite frankly, to think that the PR ticks of serving others, and we're giving these communities groceries and da-da-da. Well, they don't tell you is that we're upcharging people in these communities solely because they live outside of areas that have access to groceries. What they don't tell you is, when minimum wage increases go through, that doesn't affect the business. All that does is affect the returns. They're still pursuing these markets regardless of how high people are being paid. That doesn't affect them as much as you would expect by the PR that they put out. So I think for me, it's always been ingrained in me to defend and protect the working class. Because, say what you say, a corporate worker is still the same as far as what I recognized as a coworker with the grocery store, the distribution center, the truck drivers. People in America have to understand that we're not temporarily poor. The working class is the majority of us. I think that sort of gets lost in the conversation of people thinking that, I do see a lot of people who are protesting and want to open business back up and da 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 da. It's kind of misled because a lot of these people want to go back to work because they can't feed their families. And people like who work at Dollar General, they worked alongside me. They want to go back to work because they can't feed their family, but they don't understand that these companies are incentivizing poverty, or they're manipulating poverty. Whereas you can get $600 a week from the government, Dollar General is upset about that because they don't want to pay it. They don't want to pay the living wages. So, not to ramble on too long, but I do think that my upbringing and my understanding of the fact that, my grandparents especially, I give credit to them for raising me to be empathetic towards one another. I think that's instrumental in why I did and what others did what they did.
And tell us about what happened. Obviously, you started seeing their mishandling and lack of PPE, real hazard pay. So you started trying to organize, and then they basically, threw you out into the streets.
Yeah, April 27th, they said, get your ass out of here. We're tired of you fighting for workers. So I made efforts online predominantly in the beginning after going to stores and talking on the ground of talking to part-time associates and others who were not being protected. On April 13th, I remember specifically, it was actually a little earlier, but on April 13th, I was able to, as a corporate employee, go to the office and get pretty standard wired masks down here in Nashville. And about a week or two later, I had seen Reddit posts and had been told from others that they were sending literal T-shirt cutouts, masks. So jersey sheets, whatever you lay on, or a T-shirt. Dollar General, a billion-dollar company, was sending that material to frontline workers to protect themselves, and they know damn well that didn't do anything. That would not protect people on the front lines who were making minimum wage. And so that really set in motion for me a lot of the pieces that recognized, this company does not treat my coworkers equal to me. The bonus was enough. I recognized that wasn't, that separated us in their mind. But when those masks went out, that was enough for me. So I continued to email Human Resources and gave them my ideas. I unfortunately do have a story of one person who, her name's Lori. She's given me permission to talk about her story. She's an associate in Alabama, and in late March, she had to get a test done, and luckily she was negative for COVID-19. But what the company does is when they get out of the 14-day quarantine, they do not put them back on the schedule. So Lori and hundreds of others are unable to, when they get out of quarantining themselves, taking the responsible avenue and asking for paid sick leave or otherwise. Sometimes the company gives it, sometimes they don't. She could not get back on the schedule, and she messaged me and told me that she could not feed her child. This company, who I just mentioned, is giving Todd, the CEO, a $12 million in salary, $24 million for his whole executive team. This woman cannot feed her daughter. So me and my team, some of the people I've been working with, gave her money to be able to cook dinner. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. So a lot of the actions that we took were rooted in her story and others. That people could not feed their family, they could not pay their bills, couldn't pay for electricity. They don't have the option of choosing between Chick-fil-A or Panera for dinner. She couldn't make ramen for her daughter. So that's the reality. She's not an outlier. She's not an anecdote. The workers in this country, that is the reality.
Right.
And then I was fired for that. So.
And, I think it's also, it's now the cycle of this capitalist death cult is going to continue, because what happens is because this pandemic has laid off so many people, companies like Dollar General can continue to operate this way because they know that, all right, well, there's not going to be that many Daniels, but if we got to fire people, there's 40 million people out there willing to
and I think
take it and just...
That is so true. That's so true, because the way we view work in this country is not normal. The public at large, honestly, some of the message I've already gotten are like, you deserve it. Someone will take your job, and it's like, that's not how this should work. An underlying cost of all of this, of the sacrifice that we took, I lost my health insurance. That doesn't happen in a normal first world country. The fact that, like, what if I go get this disease and others, this COVID-19, I'm stuck with the bill with no income. You know what I mean? Like, Cobra doesn't do shit for people like me who have no income. This whole juggling of the system that is built entirely against the working class, and to see people who are in that working class defend it really just shows the effectiveness of the propaganda. Like I mentioned, like, it's tiring seeing people who are like, I want a haircut. That's not cool. But the people who are protesting who can't afford to feed their children, that's because the government isn't supporting workers in this country, and corporations are not being forced to. It all comes back, I think, to a sense of morality, and companies like Dollar General don't have it. Their existence is to exploit infrastructure, society, and the environment to consume more money for their investors. And it's going to take people like who watch this video and your audience to stand up. I don't want to get too mad, and it may offend someone who's watching this. Tweeting, guillotines and eat the rich only does so much, guys. We have to donate to programs like this, campaigns that we support, who will fight for legislation to protect workers. We have to be united in this, and that's what we tried to pursue, and Dollar General cut us down for it, but in trying to silence me, they have awoken a beast. So,
and I know you got a GoFundMe going. What are you trying to do right now?
Yeah, so we're continuing. We have about 350 workers who are in private channels with respect to Dollar General. I have been working with Chris Smalls of Amazon Prominence. We are working on other things behind the scenes. Just, I guess, as far as me, I would shamelessly plug myself. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter and keep up with what I'm doing, it's at Daniel G. Stone. I do have my GoFundMe there, and we are giving 20% of that money away to specifically Dollar General workers, because I do recognize, as a corporate worker, I was fortunate to get a bonus. I recognize that. I'm not hiding behind that. And we will be giving some of that money away after we secured. I have bills. I've got student loans like everyone else does and stuff like that. But we will still be giving some of that money away, because Dollar General will not be giving some of their money away for these workers. But my morality is dependent on supporting workers like that. So, yeah.
We'll put the GoFundMe under the video. Thank you, man. I think it's important, because I think the more people that start standing up and fighting back, even if it means getting fired, will inspire the necessary number of people to stand up, and whether it be strikes or worse, where they have to start treating us like humans rather than numbers on a balance sheet.
I think that's important. We are not asking Dollar General and other corporations at this point. We're not asking you to recognize our value. We're demanding it. It's past the point of playing nice. We are ready to march and to strike and to organize, and they have to recognize that, or else we'll have to pursue other avenues. It's exhausting being a worker in this country and expecting companies to be like we are. We protect one another. We look out for one another. We support GoFundMes for one another. Dollar General saw me as a person to cut loose and be homeless if they had it their way. So it's just tiring, and programs and otherwise like these that allow workers like me and hundreds of others to come on, tell their story, and get this out, we have to support it. We have to get together. So thank you for obviously having me on and telling my story, and
Thanks,
support
Ben.
the show, guys.
Appreciate it, Ben. Keep in touch.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.
Status quo.
That was Daniel Stone. He was working in the Dollar General corporate office and was fired for organizing on behalf of workers in the actual stores. Rare that you hear corporate officials in the corporate offices actually standing up for workers on the front line, stocking the shelves. So good on Daniel. I put the GoFundMe link to his GoFundMe in the super chat. And I think, honestly, this is what journalists should be doing. I'm not, patting myself on the back, but we should be speaking with workers. We should be like, these are the people that Joe Biden isn't reaching because he isn't proposing anything that would fundamentally change the dynamic between capitalists and the proletariat. He's not changing capitalism. He's not even challenging capitalism. He's not going to penalize corporations doing this to people like Daniel or Chris Smalls from Amazon or Rashad, who I spoke to from Total Wine. Please, half of his donors are the employers exploiting Daniel, Chris, and the rest of America, working class. So honestly, it's going to get to a point where I think everybody has been rightly focused on electoral politics for many years, but electoral politics will only take us so far if there's no organized effort outside of election season. And I think when it's safe, I would not suggest being like the idiots, in pool parties right now in Missouri or on the beaches all crowded without masks. There is a still very, very active, dangerous virus going on, and don't let anyone tell you differently. We are, I think, what are we at now? About to hit 98,000 before I came live. Maybe we've passed 98,000 deaths, so possibly 100,000 in the next few days. But when the coast is clear, whenever that is, there's a lot of Daniels out there, and we need people. It's a lot easier said than done because people are deathly afraid, if they're lucky enough to have a job right now, of losing that job. But the reason employers are able to continue to exploit and take advantage of and toss you out like yesterday's garbage is because we're not uniting together against them. If progressives, and not just progressives, neoliberals getting laid off, conservatives getting laid off, libertarians getting laid off, whoever, whatever your ideology, if we all bandy together, well, they can't fire everybody. They can't fire everybody. And if they try, are they going to have enough workers to replace them if we stand in solidarity? I don't agree with Jimmy Dore on everything, but he is right. If all of Amazon striked for one day, let alone 2 days, country would come down to its knees. Same thing goes for Walmart, Instacart, all these things. We have the leverage, but the capitalist class, the United Corporations of America, has instilled fear and made it that we don't fight back. We're at 99,790 deaths. Really? When I went live, let me check how many deaths we're at. Hold on. U.S. death count, COVID. I can't get the official number, but I'll take your word for it. U.S. death count, COVID-19. 98,334. So not quite the number you're citing, but close. We have the power to fight back, and I don't think it should be a violent I'm not saying violent, but at a certain point, if people don't stand up to these corporations, we need an Occupy Wall Street on steroids all over this country. And the conditions for it are now. That's why I think Bernie, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ro Khanna, Mark Pocan, Prabila Jayapal are missing the moment. Now is not the time to play footsie and be diplomatic with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden. Now is the time to say to hell with it. If the Democratic Party is only going to offer crumbs in the face of an economic depression, and a depression that was already kind of lying underneath the COVID-19 pandemic, a crisis that was already there for workers, a 40-year crisis, then we're going to organize against them too. Because Trump getting reelected would be terrible, but whether Biden gets in or Trump gets in, the conditions for workers like Daniel and Chris Smalls and others are not going to change unless capitalism is challenged. Period. End of story. Vashan Dogboy, $5. Great segment, Jordan. Thanks for the super chat, Vashan. Let's see if I missed any others. BK Bland, $5 in the super chat. I got $5 for your status quo. Groove on. We need you more now than ever. Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, thanks for the super chats. Don't forget, we're still trying to raise money through GoFundMe, so you could drop it there too. GoFundMe takes less than super chat. Let me make sure I don't miss any others. D. Lawrence, $10 in the super chat. I super chat Jimmy Dore, asked to have you on to debate Jimmy Dore last week. They didn't read it. Possible mistake. Did it again, and Steph censored me again. Oh boy. I'm unemployed, so it hurts. They won't say your name. Why? Say my name when no one is around you. I don't know. Jimmy and I texted the other day. I won't reveal too much out of school, but I basically told him I think you're talking crazy, and he didn't respond. So all I could say is I've told him privately I'd love to come on the show. I didn't frame it as like debate him. I told him I wanted to come on his show to talk about reporting I was doing, but I would certainly tell him. You see, the thing is, like, I think people look at it black and white. I actually agree with Jimmy on most things. What I don't agree with him is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I don't think it's helpful. Frankly, I think it divides the left to be focusing so much now on Bernie. Bernie's the enemy. Bernie's this. Bernie's that. Bernie's a fraud. Bernie's a sellout. I don't think that's productive. I don't think it's true. I don't like what Bernie is doing right now. I don't like that he's not fighting hard enough. I don't think he should have endorsed Biden when he did. If he was going to endorse Biden, it should have gotten a hell of a lot more than some phony task forces. But when you then take it to this next level of calling somebody who's fought for 40 years and who literally there would be no national progressive movement right now without Bernie Sanders, I just think that's kind of angry man comedian rants for clicks. I'm just being honest. And I told Jimmy basically that. But I don't know. I don't think they're like purposely ignoring me either. But yeah, for the record, I'd be happy to go on and say the things I'm saying here to Jimmy. And I'd also ask Jimmy, God bless him, where is this scorn for Tulsi Gabbard? Because I didn't see this scorn for Tulsi Gabbard during the campaign. I saw Jimmy, acting quite differently towards Tulsi. Even though Tulsi was playing footsie with Wall Street bankers and doing fundraisers with Wall Street people and doing off-the-record conversations with Wall Street people, didn't say a word about that. And frankly, when Tulsi endorsed Biden, you're anti-regime change, you're anti-warmongers, but you endorse Joe Biden? And I thought the interview Jimmy did with her, I don't really think she was challenged that hard on that, to tell you the truth. So I love Jimmy, but gotta call out if someone's not being intellectually consistent. And I would love to go on and debate him. I love Steph. I love Jimmy. We could disagree in the progressive movement without being enemies. Princess Queen, $5. This is the reason I didn't take off during the pandemic. My company kept hiring the whole time. I think as a message to show us we are replaceable. That's exactly why they did that, Princess Queen. And that is truly sick. That you have to jeopardize your health. I don't know your health circumstance, but I don't know that you have to even take that risk because your company is, and capitalism prioritizes profit to the point of human beings' life being discardable. And that's disgusting. You shouldn't have to do that. Art, $10 on behalf of Kelly Lee. Thank you to you and Kelly Lee. Cheryl Tyler, $10. Jimmy Dore is a hate-spewing Bernie basher. I don't think he's hate-spewing. I do think he's talking a lot of nonsense, which I've said publicly. And by the way, I've lost subscribers when I've said that, but oh well. I'm always going to keep it real. I'm not playing to clicks. I just think he's wrong. I think he's wrong. And I always say be careful about people that are so emotionally high and then on one thing and then, shift right after midnight. Because he was riding Bernie and many others were riding Bernie till the cows come home. But as soon as Bernie did something they don't like or do things they don't like, sellout, fraud, coward. I mean, that's good if you like the angry comedian shtick, but I don't think that's good for actually winning power on the left. I don't think that's good if we immediately call people who don't do what we want 100% of the time sellouts and frauds. I don't think that's good. Thank you, Gabriel Arcari, 100 SEK. Sending some love from Sweden. Keep up the good work, Jordan and Jen. I would love to come to Sweden. When I was at Standing Rock, I had a freelance cameraman from Sweden. And I remember he said, here's my Swedish section, Jordan, I don't understand. In Sweden, the police don't even carry guns. They're there to protect the people. What are the police doing here? They're beating the people. And he used to say, in America, you can only get change through bumper stickers. That's where change comes, from slogans on bumper stickers. He was great. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, and he came up with a great phrase. He said, I can't stand these earth muffins at Standing Rock. These earth muffins. I'm like, what do you mean earth muffins? Oh, these privileged white girls who come and stick a feather in their head and think they're Native American, which there were a lot of earth muffins at Standing Rock. Privileged white girls came, thought it was a, Burning Man 2.0, stuck a feather in their head and thought they were kind of indigenous. So, Art, $10 on behalf of Brandon C. Thank you. I like these super chats on behalf of others. Thank you, Gina Newman, $15 in the GoFundMe. Woohoo! We're now $515 away from 104,000. So before I go, let's do a little audience Q&A. Get the pulse of the nation, of the community. By the way, as a reminder, you can sign up and support Status Coup for as low as 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month. We got 2 new members videos up that I did in the past few days. So if you're a Status Coup member, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. If you're already a member, you could check it out, statuscoup.com, and click on members content. Let's see. Oh, you mean hippie chicks, Henry? Yes, hippie chicks, but he called them earth muffins. Victory Gin, earth muffins equal Karens. Couldn't agree more. And by the way, if you are a worker like Daniel, maybe a different circumstance, email us, info@statuscoup.com. My DMs on Twitter are open. Try not to message me nonsense, because I get a lot of nonsense too. But if you got a story, email me. I mean, I can't interview everybody, but I try to make the time to interview actual breathing, living people as much as humanly possible, because what's the point of having a platform if you're not giving it to the people that are not getting that platform on CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and all that. Summer of Love, ladies. Amazing Swedish shtick. Can we go to Sweden? I'd like to go to Sweden. And then Denmark.
I've been there.
Oh, you've been to Sweden? Okay.
For a long weekend.
For a long weekend. Okay.
When I was living in London. Sure.
Oh. LDW Boo, $10. Do you think Trump could be reelected with 200,000, 300,000 of COVID deaths on his record? No. A comatose paper bag or a comatose Joe Biden will defeat Trump if we get anywhere near 200,000 deaths. And to tell you the truth, it might happen. I mean, I think what's happening right now with all these governors, quote, reopening is extremely reckless and extremely dangerous. We're going to have a huge uptick in cases, particularly when you're seeing these pool parties with people on top of each other, no masks, doing God knows what. I don't want to sound like an old, grandpa, the kiddies today. I'm all for pool parties doing God knows what in safer times when there's not a deadly virus going on. You got beaches. I mean, people just inherently are not going to do what needs to be done for social distancing. And I don't particularly think the experts really know. I mean, they say 6 feet, but how do you really know that? How do you know it's 6 feet? I mean, we don't even know how long this thing can stay in the air. So 200,000 to 300 deaths. I don't know how Trump wins, even against a comatose, you ain't black, Joe Biden. Jordan, get on Richard Medhurst's show. He should have emailed you by now. I will check my email. I don't know who that is, but I'll check my email. Are you loving your new computer? Everything looks better on our end. So far, I love it. A little bigger than I expected, so not as easy to move it around. But the stream is going so much better, so flawless, no buffering really. The true test will be when I have Jen and other guests on to Skype Live. Wanted to have Jen on today, but her town in Maryland has an internet outage, so she couldn't come on. But the true test will be Skyping in live guests, because my plan, if I can figure it out, is to Skype in viewers. I want to Skype in viewers as best I can. Because if you don't know, most of these interviews I record earlier, which kind of screws up my schedule a lot because, Saturdays I have to record sometimes, Sundays I have to record sometimes. So it'd be nice to just do things live. So love you, man. Note, not a spectacular. Love you, man. But one thing to point out to all independent and progressive outlets, now's not the time to push for your own donations. Employ your audience to community action and food banks first. Not a spectacular. God bless you. I'm not saying food banks are not worthy of funds, but there are realities as well. We don't have any investors. We don't have a mega donor. We don't take money from banks, fossil fuckers, big real estate, big pharma, Silicon Valley, or the Democrat Republican Party. So we're a business, and if we don't raise money, the lights go out. So I don't know what to tell you. We're not laying people off because we don't have that much staff to begin with, and we're not dependent on advertising. But we also have a much larger barrier to meet as far as fundraising than other outlets, just because of the travel we do. And I got to have Colin change it because we haven't even added some of the other places we've been. And we have a lot of places we want to go when it's safe. So I think it's a false choice. Obviously, if you as a viewer have enough money to give to food banks and other groups, great. But I don't think necessarily like it's bad to ask for money if you're a company built on small dollar subscriptions, the occasional GoFundMe. I always say, of course, if you don't have the money, no problem, don't donate. So I understand what you're trying to say, but we're not asking for money to go, to Vegas, for sure. Richard, if you're going to San Francisco, make sure you wear some flowers in your hair. If you're going to Standing Rock, then it's feathers by all means. It's funny because I spoke with someone yesterday. One of the things on my list before COVID was I wanted to go to San Francisco to cover Shahid Buttar's campaign on the ground. I don't know if he's going to beat Pelosi, but I think he's got as good of a shot as anybody to do it. And I'd love to cover him campaigning for a week or two. But obviously, there's nothing to cover right now because he's not, there's not traditional campaigning. That was on my list before all this happened. Reese Mack, are you over COVID? You sound cured. Fingers crossed, yeah. I've been symptom-free for probably two or 3 weeks. I don't want to say over and jinx it, but so far so good of being completely over it. So thank you for the kind words. Eric Volgate, $5 in the super chat. Whoever wrote Jimmy Dore's wiki makes him sound like Alex Jones. I have not read Jimmy's wiki in a while, but he's certainly no Alex Jones. That's not true. Robert Copeland, $5. Jordan, yesterday you posted an interview about a lady that started a tenant union in Detroit. Have you ever heard of the Autonomous Tenant Union Network? I have not. But tell me about it. Email me, Robert. info@statusquo.com. That sounds interesting. Autonomous Tenant Union Network. By the way, go check out that interview I did with Joe Messer. She's with the Village Union Tenants. It's Detroit. About 10 residents in the Island View neighborhood of Detroit that are rent striking. My girlfriend got me that story. She sent it to me. Great producer there. So yes, I'm going to try to do more interviews with people, rent striking and those things, but definitely send me more information on the Autonomous Tenant Unions Network. Sounds very interesting. Let's see. Oh, by the way, if you're a new viewer today, make sure you subscribe. We finally have gone up some subscribers. thanks to some advertising we're doing, as well as an interview with Brianna Joy Gray, who was Bernie's press secretary, helping us get a few new subscribers. So keep it coming, keep it coming. I could give Status Quo my money and support my local food bank. Thank you, Victory Gin. And not everybody can. Not everybody could give anything right now. And that's okay too. But I mean, the bottom line is, until we get to Kyle Kalinske, Jimmy Dore levels of subscribers, and therefore patrons or however they do it, we're a small media company. And because we haven't sold out, because we're not taking any money from the corrupt revolving door of this country, we depend on our viewers, which I think is the better model. Cindy A. Matthews, you need to hit Toledo, Jordan. We have the highest COVID death rate in Ohio. It's double the rest of the state. Very odd. Wow. That's interesting. That's another thing on my plate. Nothing to report, but I did speak with Nina Turner about possibly going to Ohio and shooting some things that she's doing. So if I go to Ohio to do that, maybe I'll take a little trip to Toledo. Send me more information on Toledo if you can. info@statusquo.com. info@statusquo.com. La da 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 da. Subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe if you haven't. Jen will be back tomorrow, by the way. She was doing the super chat for some of it. Louis Lelevere, love to Jordan and Jen. Will you have Jesse Ventura on your show? Yeah. I would love the body. Jesse the Body Ventura. I'd love to have him out. In truth, I haven't reached out. Maybe I should. Miss Yoko, Anat, I think you should marry Jordan. I think he loves you. Don't get started. We already got bridal fever in this apartment. We already got bridal fever. You'll know when there's something to announce. Let's say COVID has delayed some plans over in this household. But all is well. All is well. Well, yeah, all is well. I'd say all is well. We're gonna go on a nice walk. Toledo. And as a reminder before I go, if you're not on our text list, let's go. Text COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370. This is important. YouTube, maybe 30 to 40% of the time, notifies you when we're live. So that would be 60 to 70%. They do not. If you text COUP to 370-370, you will get on our text list. We don't spam you. It doesn't cost you anything. This is just so you know when we're live. We're trying to text as much as we can. It actually is expensive. It costs us about $30 each text. It costs us more as the text list grows, but please join our text list because we need to get around the YouTube suppression, and the way to do that is letting you know as soon as we're live. Also, if you don't know, we are on Instagram, trying to grow there too. If you're one of the cool kids, Instagram.com/statusquo, Instagram.com/statusquo. And as always, you could sign up as a member for as low as 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month. We have 2 new videos up for our members. Enjoy it. And that's about all I got today. I'll be back tomorrow. And remember, in the United Corporations of America, most people are not lacking compassion. Most people have no godly idea what the hell is going on around them. That's why we're here. To wake them up, inform them, and activate them. Have a good rest of your Memorial Day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.